Welcome to the third video in our lesson on adding and subtracting integers symbolically. In this first example, we have to simplify each expression and then order the answers from least to greatest. So in A, we are adding a positive and a negative. So to do this, we subtract, and then we determine if there's more positives or negatives. So 8 subtract 5 is 3. And I see that there's 8 positives and 5 negatives, so that gives me positive 3. Now for B, we're subtracting. So to do this, we add the opposite. So we write it like this. The first integer does not change. The subtraction becomes an addition, and the positive 15 becomes negative 15. So now this is just like A. We're adding a positive and negative. So let's subtract and make our answer negative 2. Now in C, we are subtracting again, so we can write it like this if we add the opposite. So here I'm adding 2 negatives. When we add 2 negatives, we just add them together and make our answer negative. So if I do that, I get negative 10. And in D, I'm adding a positive negative, so if I subtract and I see that there's more negatives, I get negative 3. So now we have to order these answers from least to greatest. So you can use a number line to help you with this. If you have a number line, you would see that negative 10 is furthest to the left, so that is the least number here. Then between positive 3, negative 2, and negative 3, negative 3 would be next, followed by negative 2. And the largest number here is positive 3. So here we have our list from least to greatest. Now this next example, we have to fill in the missing sign to make each equation true. So do we put in an addition sign or a subtraction sign on each of these blanks? So for A, do we have negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5? Or negative 3 subtract negative 2 is negative 5. Well, I know that when we add 2 negatives, we just add the numbers and make the answer negative, so that means we have an addition here. Now in B, we have positive 9 blank negative 4 equals positive 13. So let's think about this one for a minute. Well, if I add these together, I would indeed subtract the 2 numbers. So that would not work. But if I subtract, subtracting a negative is the same as adding the opposite. So 9 plus positive 4 would indeed give me positive 13. Now for C, is 7 plus 11 going to be negative 4? No. 7 minus 11 is negative 4. And then for D, we have negative 1 plus positive 3 is 2, or minus. Let's think about the fact that we start at negative 1 and we end up at positive 2. So in order for my answer to get bigger, let's go ahead and add positive 3 to that. Because if I subtract positive 3, my answer is just going to end up getting smaller. But because I want to go from negative 1 to positive 2, let's add positive 3. So now we have one more example. In this case, we got to fill in the blank again, but not with the missing sign. We had to fill in the missing integer. So let's have a look at A. Negative 3 subtract some number is going to give us a positive 6. Well, if I subtract a positive number, that means my answer should be more negative. So I know that I should actually subtract a negative number. Negative 3 subtract a negative number is going to give me a larger number. So I do know it's going to be negative, so what negative number could it be? Well, let me try negative 3 perhaps. We can kind of do a little bit of a guess and check here. Is negative 3 plus positive 3, is that going to give us 6? No, that's actually 0. So that's not right. So what other number should we try? Let's try -9. -3 plus a +9 is indeed +6. So that is correct. Now for B, once again you can do guess and check, or you can always use counters or a number line even. So if I look at something take away +1 being -5, I know that when we subtract on the number line, the second number is where we start. And the answer is actually how long our arrow is and the direction at which it points. So -5 means my arrow is 5 spaces long and it points to the left. So that means the first number must be -4. So for C, again, you can use guess and check, you can use number lines or counters. So let's have a look. +7 plus what number is going to give us -1? Well, if I start at +7 and I end up at -1, I must have to add a negative number. So +7 plus -8, that will give us -1. And then for the last one, something plus -2 is -15. Well, I know adding two negatives is a negative, so what negative number can I add on to -2 to get -15? -13. So that concludes this section. Be sure to complete all the activities before moving on.